Okay, we're in the same bee yard again. For the second day. I'm using a different headphone because I made a video of one that was missing a queen yesterday and how I was solving the problem. It was just the sound was up and down and freaking wacky. So I'm just trying my my earbud here. Anyway, I'm back at the same yard. There's snow, but it's all in the bush here because the fields have all melted off, and actually this little bush right beside it, most of the snow's melted out of it because it's in amongst like hundreds of acres of open field. This is just a small bush against the road. Anyway, so show you these girls again. They're back on the, even though it's cloudy out, they're still pretty active. I got a tray of pollen inside of a barrel to make it so that it doesn't get wet, right? So anyway, I got most of my stuff marked. I'm doing this video for Marlin. Marlin, my man. Marlin, I mean. Marlin's bought stuff off us over the years, and I've bought bees from him, and I find them to be pretty good. So I kept one of his queens in this box here, and I'm just going to open it up and see what's going on. They live at my place the same as they live at his place. You know, he has good luck with his bees. Well, I guess I'll have good luck with his bees. Not super strong. Maybe 5 frames of bees. Of course, they could be in the bottom box too, which we'll find out in a minute. It looks like they may be. These are used to being on medium frame, so they probably think they're covering a lot here. Anyways, they are in through the whole bottom box too by the looks of it, so it's a pretty strong hive. Just on the top, it's sort of, it doesn't make it look like there's that many, but they're 2 boxes deep, so they're down into the bottom frames too by the looks of it here. You can see these bees with pollen on their legs, but most likely the pollen is from that barrel right there. But at least they're bringing it in. They can see that they have resources to feed their babies. And there's a very good chance that the queen, even if she is up at the top, as soon as I pop this box, she's probably headed for the bottom box. If they're using that down there, and I see in here, I can see eggs, and I see a few young larvae, which is fantastic. Oh, I don't know if this is his queen. I might have had to replace her later in the year. That's what I have marked on the box, but that doesn't look like the queen that was in here. The queen that was in here was even brown, a reddy brown. She's a different type. I don't know what she was, but this definitely looks like one of mine here. And it looks like my messy paint job as well. But she's stepping out there, getting the job done. This one here has lots of eggs in it too. This will be one of the ones I gotta keep an eye on. I can see down in the bottom there's quite a few bees. And just gotta keep an eye on them. Hopefully I can split them as soon as my first cells come out. I usually have them in the area. I usually have mated queens by around the 18th. Look at this. That's what you see when you open up hives in the spring. So a bunch of them have died, and a bunch of them on the outside at the bottom there. So that's... I don't tell people they should clean things up right now this time of year, but there's such nice days. I think today I was sitting at home at like 9:30 and it was 10 degrees already, so like I'm not gonna worry too much about going into them, or I'm not gonna be hurting them, I don't think. I take this outside one, just so you can see what I'm doing here. Take this outside when I clean most of the dead bees off of it, right? But as you can see, the outside frames, a lot of them will have mold or mildew on them. So I'll scrape that off whatever I can. I don't get too excited and get too particular. They do all the work. So what I just did there was I cleaned off the mold and mildew, and I'm actually gonna, this is a different frame that's closer to the center, but she hasn't laid in yet, and it's also a beeswax frame, so the foundation has beeswax in it. I try to keep a beeswax frame on the outside of the hive. Now, this is just me. This isn't, you know, this isn't a proven thing or anything. I'm no scientist. But in the, in the winter, you put your hand on a piece of plastic. It takes a little bit to warm up. If you grab onto a piece of beeswax, okay, like if you're picking up foundations for beehives, pick up a piece of beeswax foundation, and you know it heats immediately. Like, you don't really get the cold off what you do with plastic. So what I've chosen to do, just because I had them available to me when I was selling the equipment, is I put a beeswax frame on the outside. Now, I don't necessarily keep them there. Like, that one was probably the 4th frame in. So I've moved it from the outside in for who knows what reason. Maybe it didn't have any honey in it in the fall. Maybe it was blank, so I moved the full frame of honey to the outside, because that big frame of honey is also a thermal barrier, right? So, but I just think beeswax is warmer. I have no proof of it. I have and this is the thing you have when you're a beekeeper. You can do shit like this. You can do whatever you want. And as long as you're successful, it must have been right. That's the way I look at things. Okay? But anyways, so I've taken that beeswax one, made sure there was no eggs in it, put it to the outside, and there's a frame with honey in it beside that. And this frame is right full of honey and pollen, which could have came from that barrel. I don't care where it came from, as long as they have protein to feed their babies, right? Now I'm going to take this one that had the mildew and moldy type stuff on it. And I'm going to fire it in here just in between that and this next frame, which probably so it has a bit of honey in it, but she's also laid it out in eggs, right? So they like to keep honey and pollen right next to the eggs. So they'll jump on that frame and they'll clean that up, okay? And they'll fill it right, they'll fill it full of food. That's just what they do, right? They want that food right next to those babies, which sort of makes sense. It's like, you know, when you're doing work, you try to be as efficient as possible, so why not move it in there? And then there's that queen again. I don't know if you can see it right there. She's a good one. She's getting them laid out. Like I say, there's open larvae in there, which means she's ahead of some of them. There's a few, well, not many, but there's a few that don't have any eggs in them yet. They're just, I don't know, they're laid back or something. There we're back into the honey again on the other side. And this was the second frame in. Now I think I'll move that one in. Put this honey one out. This one's got a little bit of honey, not much. Okay. And then this one was the outside one again. So as you can see down in this bottom corner, a little bit of mildew. I'll give it a scratch. Not necessarily cleaning it up any. I might get, even if I get off 10% of the mildew, that's enough, right? Anyway, it helps them out. Every little bit helps, right? Every little bit. Actually, some of that pollen that's in there doesn't look like it's from that barrel. That barrel's got really light colored pollen, or the substitute. And some of this pollen in here is a little darker. So, okay, so what I just do here, I didn't put the camera back far enough, eh? What I just do now, I'm just going to take this box. Okay, usually when I open up my hive, I'll do that. I'll lay the lid upside down, okay? Then I'll put the inner cover on top of it, like on a 45, so the corners keep it up above the lid, right? And then I just take this hive and I set it over onto there, right? Not squishing any bees. And if it's somehow an aggressive hive or something, you know, you can get smoke underneath it better and smoke on top. I'm not using smoke. I want to find the queens. Queens will hide sometimes when you use smoke, so I'll see if I can get you. Well, maybe I can't get you down here to see this. Set you over on the hive with the bees. You might crawl up over the screen, but we'll see. Now, what am I looking at? There, I'm looking at it. Good, good. Okay, so the bottom box is dirtier. It's where a lot of, like, all along here, dead bees are. Okay, I just get rid of them. Don't work a long time on it because the bees will be cleaning out their hive too, right? Especially if it's one of my queens. Like, that's part of what I breed for, right? It's for cleanliness. So the only reason they haven't cleaned this up yet is because it's a little early in the year and they haven't been getting out every day, right? So this next week or so is just fantastic. And then a cold week after that, by looks of it. If I can get through them all now, I can go chill. I can go get my trailer ready for summer. Do some other stuff that I need to get done. Well, they're all cuddled up in their hive. So I just go through and clean up the frames somewhat. Okay, this one's an outside one. As you can see, this is a beeswax frame because that's what I do with them. I have this weird thing that seems logical to me that I put beeswax frames on the outside. Biggest thing I try and do is just get the bees off. Because that's what will cause the mold and mildew, right? So that second frame in, pretty good. There was one moldy bee, got rid of it. Sometimes I clean the edges of the frames here like this. Just makes it so that I don't run out of room in the box because the frames can't go together. Anyway, I'm going to put this one on the outside. I'm just going to put the beeswax frame just inside that one. I'm not going to do it just yet because I'm going to skim through the rest of this box. So there's quite a few bees in the bottom box, which is nice. Not always the case. Lots of times you'll open a double in the spring and they'll all be up in the top box. Just you're only a single. You can knock them down into a single, or just take a look at it if you think they're strong enough. And leave that second box on, right? Just gonna see. This has all got nectar in it. She hasn't been down here laying so far. We'll go look at the next couple. And here's where I find out that I didn't complete my markings, I guess. Because in this next frame, there is plastic queen cage. Right there in the middle of the cage. So what's happened is I put a young queen in here in the fall. But it was probably fairly late in the fall, right? So that queen cage is left in there. Now, must have been at least October because I usually go down through all my hives, right top to bottom, all the time. That's what, not all the time, but every time I go in them, I'm usually going top to bottom. Getting later in the fall, I'll slow down with that because there's no chance of them, well, I shouldn't say there's no chance, but it's unlikely that there'll be queen cell in there. They're not trying to swarm or anything. So I don't check as much. But most of the rest of summer I'm going through top to bottom. But easy for me to say, because this is what I do for a living, right? I have the time. Well, I better have the time. It's just like you better have time to go to work or you're not going to get paid, right? Same here. The only difference is you probably get paid way more than me. I get to play with bees all day though. Hourly job would make more money than what I make, but I have freedom. I'm able to do things that I want to do if I want to do them, when I want to do them. And the only person that's going to suffer if I don't do my work is me and my bees. And so usually I do the work. I don't usually run away too much. Take care of them pretty good. They say don't bite the hand that feeds you, so I take care of my bees. But you can say that all you want. They'll sting you all day long if they're cranky. I feed mildewy. The comb isn't even pulled out on. I don't know what it's doing in there. But anyway, here's the last one, and it's a plastic one. But it's got mildew on it. I keep going out of the camera, eh? It's got mildew in it because it's got lots of dead bees on it. But as you can see, the hive's still got lots of bees in it, right? This is just part of what happened in the winter. And like I say, if I left it long enough, they'd do all this themselves. I don't have to do this. I do it to help them out, because the more they can concentrate on their other jobs, feeding the babies, getting nectar, feed the babies, all that stuff. The more they can concentrate on that, the better it is for me. So this one, oh, that's good. Sometimes they have them screwed down if they came from somebody else because they screwed the bottom board on. So just going to clean off this bottom board. So it's got lots of bees, moldy bees down the side. And this is one of those old screen bottom boards. Got these from the guy I bought bees from, R&R Honey, down in Watford. Bought them from him for a few years and ended up with lots of these bottom boards. I don't usually use screens. I'm actually liking them, but you gotta block them somehow. So what I do with these ones is I shove a piece of styrofoam underneath because they don't have a slide in, like the good bottom boards do. I got lots of the ones that slide in too. But I just sort of use what's convenient, and I could have ran around and taken all these screen bottom boards off, and I've done it in past years. Take off all these screen ones and put on wooden ones. Well, instead I just had a piece of styrofoam, so put the styrofoam in there. Now I'll put this back together. There's no brood in the bottom part of the hive, just bees and lots of honey. So I'm just going to move a couple of those screens of honey out, and then I'm going to put back in. I'm going to put these ones with the mildew and mold closer to the center, so they'll clean them up faster. Don't need that in your hive. They don't need it. Maybe move all these over. Put this other one that was not cold or anything. Second from the outside here. What did I do wrong there? Oh, I have frames in that. Oops. So, even though this one with a beeswax frame has honey, it had a bit of mildew, so we'll just keep it out from the outside. The outsides of the box will dry up. The outside ones will be a bit moldy because the condensation runs down the outsides of the hive. Anyway, that's all cleaned up. Spring cleaning. When I left, my daughter was doing her spring cleaning at her house. I'm out here doing spring cleaning in the bee yard. Can't get that far enough ahead. Oh yeah, okay. Okay, so I just put that back on. Stick this one back on. They're clean for the season now. That's all they need to have happen right now. Don't probably, if I wasn't so wasn't such a busybody, I could now leave them until May, sometime in May. 'Cause they're not, you know, there's maybe 10 frames of bees in there at a 20 frame, so she does have everything going on properly. Okay, nothing's gonna hatch out in there. Probably be real close to the 1st of May. So population's not going up until then. And we'll just wrap them back up. Oh, I'll be in there. I'm gonna graft a little bit early this year. Tried it before. Go for about a week early. Right? And sometimes it works out. One time it worked out. Most of the time it doesn't really work out. It's sort of what happens is I get in there and get my cells all made up. Then I split up all these bees into little boxes, and then the weather turns bad, so the queen won't go out to mate even though she's already there and she's laying and everything. Yeah, no. What I meant to say is the queen is already there, ready to go out and mate. She's already hatched out and everything. But if the weather's not good enough, she won't go. So that's you can't control the weather. Wish I could. This would be really fun if I could control the weather. But anyway, I'm just gonna do that. I got this yard I started in yesterday, so I just have 2, 4, 6, 8 left to do. So 10 all together here, and then I go to my next yard. I think there's 33 in it too, and I'll see what happens there. Anyway. That's what happens when you use your earbud. You take your hat off and friggin' earbud falls out. So I don't know. I'll figure something out. Anyways, this barrel's getting a little busier now. Lots of bees. They're not getting on the tray. I think I'll take it out and put it back on top of the barrel like I had it yesterday until I leave here at least. And see if they get on a little better. Have a good day.